Alright, people, so Conor Benn defeats Chris Eubank Jr. on a wide unanimous points decision. Before we talk about this, if you could have a look there on screen. If you could, I would greatly appreciate if you consider hitting the like, hitting the subscribe, and hitting the notification bell. It only takes a few seconds. It's completely free, and you're going to help me get to 30k. So I would appreciate that very much. So let's talk about this. Going into this fight, and I even said it in my pre-fight prediction, that I thought Eubank would win, but I said it with no great degree of certainty if the full rehydration clause was going to be adhered to. Like, going into this fight, there was a lot of talk that Eubank wouldn't adhere to it, and I thought, to be honest with you, he shouldn't, because one, it's a non-title fight. Two, the IBF have a check weight, yes, but it's actually more than this check weight is, which is £12 for the IBF. This was only £10. So for me, and again, non-title, so none of this should have really happened. And I said that if it goes ahead again with the same stipulations, Eubank looked terrible first time, he'll probably look even worse the second time. And if he wins, okay, you have to win with one hand tied behind drop. But if you lose, you can't really go and turn around and say, look what I've done, it's amazing. Well, not really. I mean, you fought a guy who's badly drained. So that was what I was thinking going into this fight. Now, the first round, you could kind of tell how this was going. Conor Benn was, for the first minute or so, was very kind of standoffish, was really thinking about what he was going to do, was really looking to put his shots together, and was putting a bit of pressure on Eubank. Now, Eubank was coming out with a jab, looked all right, and he was able to catch Conor Benn with a counter right hand as Conor Benn was coming in. And he caught him kind of the side of the head, really, when he felt it. And Conor Benn's kind of technique, it kind of went a bit out the window at that point. But then we really saw in round two the extent of what we were dealing with Chris Eubank Jr. Because Eubank, he didn't look quite himself that first round, but he looked sharp enough that you thought, all right, he's just warming himself into this fight. Boy, was that not true. So after that, it was literally Eubank looking slow, lethargic. His shots had no snap in him whatsoever. His jab had no consistency with it. The short uppercuts and hooks on the inside that we're used to seeing Chris Eubank throw with accuracy, speed, and power, non-existent. I think he threw a handful of uppercuts this whole fight, which is his best punch. And everything was laboured. He threw no body shots on Conor Benn. He had counter-punching opportunities, and it was like, when you can look at someone, you can tell he wants to throw that shot, but the body won't do it. That was what I was seeing from Chris Eubank Jr. Now, Conor Benn did what he needed to do. He boxed to a game plan. His technique, for the most part, was a lot better than it had been in the first fight. Still not at it in the right home belt, but it was better. And he was just patient. He was patient with his work. He went through the motions. He was picking up the rounds. He knew he was in control. He definitely had a guy in front of him who was definitely weight drained. There's no question about that. He adhered to the rehydration clause. We know he made the weight this morning. He did the weight yesterday. He showed how much of a struggle it was to try and get down to the weight. At the end of the day, right, you've got someone like that in front of you. It is a good idea to just, he's not got anything to really trouble you with. So why not just go through the gears and make it easier for yourself? Because the longer you go, the more you do risk something happening. Maybe a clash of heads, maybe a lucky punch coming. I always say, if you can get rid of the guy, just get rid of him. And I think that's what Conor Benn could have done with Chris Eubank Jr. He didn't. And that would you'd have to ask the questions and say, well, you were in there against the guy who was absolutely, he looked awful in there. He looked slow. He looked lethargic. That's the worst I've ever seen Chris Eubank Jr. And it's not the best I've ever seen Conor Benn. It's not like it was a career best performance by Conor Benn. It wasn't. It was just, all right. It's measured. It's all right. It's the best way I can explain it. But Eubank looked awful in there. He really did. It was, I've said this about this fight. It makes financial sense to do this fight. Yes, it does. For the simple reason is that, right, look, it drew a lot of money first time. It had the egg slap. It had the senior interviews. It had senior showing up on fight night. It had everything in it, and the fight delivered. It felt to me like that was a one and done thing, that it should have been, it's gone, it's done, that's it, let's move on. And they didn't. They did this rematch, and I said it in a video a couple of weeks ago, it just doesn't feel the same. There's no hype for this fight. There's nothing to it. It just feels not organic. It just feels forced. That's the best way I could explain it. It just felt very forced again. And I think that it showed because there didn't seem to be as much interest in this fight. certainly the fight itself was nothing like the first fight in the sense of it was nowhere near as entertaining. It was nowhere near as exciting. I mean, watching it live and doing the commentary for it, you could see people in the chat were like, I want this fight to end. And it was like one of the hardest fights I've ever had to comment on because there was just nothing happening. And I, again, think that although it made financial sense, I think this fight was one of them where it was a one and done. It was a real one and done thing. It's been done now twice. We should never see a trilogy. And honestly, Chris Eubank Jr., I don't know what he does. He looked awful. Absolutely awful in there. As for Conor Benn, listen, if you can get back down to welterweight, get back down there and see what you can do. It's quite weak at the minute because it's only going to get stronger. You have the likes of Jack Catterall there. You have the likes of, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, maybe Teofimo Lopez someday stepping up. So it's only going to get stronger. So maybe you want to go and strike while the iron's hot now because it ain't going to get much easier for you. But how would I see Conor Benn doing against a Ryan Garcia, a Devin Haney, a Brian Norman Jr.? Personally, I don't think he beats them guys. I think he needs to look more along the lines of Lewis Crooker and people like that. He's got a better chance with them. Even Jack Catterall, after what I've seen tonight, there's a good chance Conor Benn maybe can cause him some issues, but probably not that much. So that's really what I got to say on it. It wasn't a great fight. There was not much happening. And then we get to the 12th round, and Eubank got dropped with a right hand that appeared to kind of graze the side of his head / ear. It looked more like an equilibrium shot than anything else, but still a knockdown. Eubank goes down, looks hurt, 40 seconds to go, able to hold on, but gets dropped again. And by the time he gets to his feet again, the bell was going to go and save him anyway. So he does see the final bell. 119, 107 on one scorecard. Yep, fair enough. 118, 108 on another scorecard. Fair enough. 116 to 110. I'm like, say what? Where'd you find 4 rounds to give to Eubank? I couldn't find them. Maybe find 2 rounds, but 4? Come on. So, yeah, not a great fight. Didn't enjoy it. Conor Benn wins. I think that they need to move on with their careers. Whatever Eubank Jr. decides to do, let's wait and see. Conor Benn back down to 147. I look at this fight as the same way I looked at the first fight. It's just, all right, it's a part of their history. It's nostalgia. You had Nigel and Senior. But I don't class this as a good win for Eubank from the first fight. I don't class this as a good win for Conor Benn from this fight. It's just done. It's there. It happened. It's done. Let's move on. That's kind of how I see this fight. And I really do think the first fight was perfect, and that was the perfect way to end it. Sometimes things don't need a sequel, and I think this was one of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video as always, people. If you could, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. Until next time, peace and love.